Hey there, everybody. You know this guy? Some of you might know who this guy is. This guy is retired Air Force Lieutenant General Stephen Quast of the Space Force. And here today he's speaking at Hillsdale College in Florida. Now, Hillsdale College is a similar type of thing to TED Talks, where you go and speak to an audience. The difference is TED Talks is full of academics and hippies, conspiracy theorists, all this type of stuff, even though they don't let the truth on. But Hillsdale College is different. This guy is speaking to a room full of retired millionaires and billionaires who are looking at investments into the future of 200-300 years for their family wealth and the rest of it. Yeah. So let's hear what he has to say.
When we ask this question about, do we need a space force? I'd like to unpack that a little bit because it's important to first start with why. Why do we need a space force? And once we understand why we need a space force, then we can talk about, well, when do we need it and what should it do? Critical elements of this central question we're going to explore this evening, and I'm looking forward to your questions. But one of the most important points of thinking, space is going to change world power because of the power of space and what it can do. We're going to explore that a little bit tonight. But it's also a story of...
Okay, bear with me. Just play a little bit more here.
Germany was competition for the airplane, the tank, and the nuclear weapon that we eventually won, but at great cost. China is our competition. Russia is our competition. They see the power of the economy of space in these four sectors, and they are rushing to that future. And there is no guardian force in America, but there is in China. China has already built the organization and has the strategy and the doctrine, the technology, and the builders for their guardian force of space. They are building a navy in space with the equivalent of battleships and destroyers that will be able to maneuver and kill and communicate with dominance. And we are not. Now, this analogy might...
So the Chinese are building ships to go out into space and dominate it. You hear all that? This is coming out of this guy's mouth, right? Let's take it a little bit further.
It's not about making better satellites or even having a constellation of satellites. When you see China on the far side of the moon mapping today the minerals...
What? China is on the far side of the moon mapping minerals and resources? Yeah? And this is what's got you all riled up.
Our continental United States, let's say we're in Miami, and we're looking out over the wide open ocean. That ocean is deep space. The orbit around the Earth is the shoreline, where the waves are crashing. The deep water is space. And there is a continent out there, 3 times the size of Africa. That's the moon.
There's a continent out there 3 times the size of Africa, and that's the moon. And nobody lives there, Stephen. Momentito. A continent, Stephen, 3 times the size of Africa, that nobody lives there. Which one is it? That one? This one? This one? Because you have continents out there that you codename Mars and the Moon. So that when you say to the people of the world, oh, we've been to the Moon, we've been to Mars, inside yourselves you're not lying. Because you've been to these places out here that are codenamed Mars and the Moon. Not the lights in the sky we're talking about. These are the Chinese ships are going out there and coming back in. I said this last week. Right? So let's bring it a step further.
Of Africa. That's the moon. And nobody lives there. It's only 3 days away. It has massive amounts of everything that Mother Earth has, to include water on the South Pole in the craters, greater than the Great Lakes as far as volume. And China is racing with ships on that open ocean to that great, open, desolate place that can be turned into resources and blessing for a marketplace. And they're doing it not just to get the resources, but to tap into the trillion-dollar markets on planet Earth. Imagine what you could do if you could sell technology to somebody from China and deliver Wi-Fi. And once you've built the infrastructure in space, you can deliver it for pennies. That energy over time. They will tap into those trillion-dollar markets as they have in the past, as we have in the past, and fund their ecosystem, their economy, their marketplace in cislunar space, which is basically the distance between the Earth and the Moon and beyond. And we, as an American society, we are sitting on Miami Beach, sipping our pina colada, looking out at the waves, and as we are watching China build this navy with battleships and destroyers going out into the open oceans and off to this continent 3 times the size of Africa, we are building buoys and lighthouses, which are the satellites. They can see and hear what's going on, but can't do a darn thing about that rover on the backside of the moon.
You hear this shit?
That if we were to try to go there, they could shoot us down.
Oh, shoot
And
you down.
Speed matters. Speed matters, because whoever gets to the new market sets the values for that market.
So, have we gathered up what this guy just said? This guy from the Space Force is standing up here, and he's saying, if you're standing on the beach in Florida, and as you look out over the ocean, that ocean is outer space. Okay, I got stuff coming up on my screen here. That ocean is outer space. And the Chinese are building huge ships, naval ships, and they're going down there and they are mining on the far side of the moon. Now, this here is the original of that map that I was showing you earlier on. This is the actual piece that appeared in the newspaper in Hawaii around the 1910 mark. Was this world map made 10 centuries ago, because they say they found it in a Chinese or Japanese Buddhist temple, something like that. But this guy, retired Lieutenant General Stephen Quast of the Space Force, not speaking to a bunch of conspiracy theorists, but speaking to a bunch of millionaires and billionaires who invest into the future, he's telling them, there's this big continent, maybe that's it, 3 times the size of Africa. That's got a big lake in the middle of it. He said there was water there. They've got lakes in them as well. Minerals beyond your imagination. Tons and tons and tons of them. 560-meter long ships, 80 meters wide, going up and down. Bringing what down, bringing what back. You've just confirmed it, Stephen. The deep ocean is outer space. And the area around our Earth is where the waves are crashing. For fuck's sake, why didn't you just turn around and say to these billionaires, listen, people, the fucking Earth is flat, and out there, there's a hell of a lot of fucking money to be made. Yeah, but you have to talk to these people. You're telling them what's going on. Whether they're picking it up or not, who knows? But somewhere out here is a continent 3 times the size of Africa, lots of them. The Chinese are on it. It's called the moon. So the Chinese can turn around and say, we're on the far side of the moon and we're mining. And the whole world believes, especially in China, a big fucking spaceship has gone up there and landed on the far side of the moon, and there's right guys out there drilling and digging. That's fucking horseshit. They're taking ships outside of our realm, massive electric boats or wheelback boats, things that are basically unsinkable. They may have to go through some very rough seas. And America's getting a little bit worried that they're behind. And I said it before that these Chinese have been going up and down through here for 1,000 years. I've seen the old paintings. I've seen the electric boats that they have. So, make of it what you will. This guy is not a bullshitter. I'll tell you more about this guy. This guy has been to Kraut Slob's World Economic Forum John F. Kennedy School of Government, along with all the rest of these pricks. So they've got some position in the future from Mr. Stephen Quast, maybe head of the Space Force or whatever. And they're there to protect these lines, stop us from getting out, and stop anybody from coming in or out. They're policing these seas. They are pirates, but there's a lot worse pirates out here, let me tell you. Now, not all of these places might be heavenly and habitable, but they are sources for our future, for our minerals. What's his name? Admiral Richard Byrd. Don't believe a word comes out of his mouth either. But he said, oh, there's a continent down there. It's the size of the Americas. There's more coal on it. There's coal. There's sticks. There's fucking everything that you need down there. So make of that what you will. This guy is quite serious. These people that go along to listen to him are listening very carefully. He might have raised $1 trillion that day. Well, a few billion anyway. So make of it what you will, and I'll catch you all soon.